Welcome into TexAgs Rewind here on a Friday, presented by T-Mobile, and we want to thank T-Mobile for sponsoring this show, and they want to remind you to visit T-Mobile.com/acrossamerica to learn more how you can get value and coverage through T-Mobile. Friday's show meant Billy Liucci was on the show. We talked about Demani Richardson saying he's coming back for 2022. Billy also got into some Aggie hoops because that's fun to talk about. They got a game this weekend against Missouri, then the big one against Kentucky. But first, got to take care of Missouri. John Pugliese also scouted Missouri for us. That was fun to go. And the Go Hour. We banked on a lot of things. I banked on a big three-point shot, and OB said, yeah, the Ags are good. We'll have that and more here on TexAgs Rewind.
I said before all this that you weren't keeping Marv, you weren't keeping Kenyon. And regardless of what the NFL grades were, you weren't keeping Isaiah because those two were going to be first-rounders. But I knew that the Isaiah and Weidemeyer, it just felt like they were guys that were gone. Not in a bad way. It just felt like they were 3-year starters and they were going to leave. And by the way, they both might go one or two, certainly top 3 at their position in the upcoming draft, if not top. So that might not result in a first round selection, but if you're going to be the first one at your position taken, or the second, it doesn't get much better than that. So you kind of knew those 4 were going to leave, and it was going to take. I actually think the one that you had to act, not a shot, but the one, if there was any you could have kept, it might have actually been Kenyon. I think he considered it, believe it or not. But outside of that, I thought there were 3 guys that was very important to see who you could keep out of that group. And it was Tyree Johnson, because I'm sitting here looking at O'Shawn Mathis, who's going to leave TCU. Bama offered him yesterday. He's probably going to go to Texas and follow Pitts Patterson over there. And I was sitting there going, that guy, like, I look at A&M's team next year, and that D-line, you and Olin talking about, it's going to be good. I think it's going to be really good. I could tell you where you could see Shamar Turner to Miche Delier, McKinley Jackson. I mean, those are 3 basically 5-star guys that could be 3 or 4 starters. And maybe it ends up being Walter Nolan. That might be an all. I know McKinley just missed the 5-star cut. That might be an all 5-star D-line. And that doesn't count guys like Rakes and Diggs. But if you could add just this twitchy edge guy like Tyree Johnson, would have been really significant. Now, with that said, it was Tyree, it was Anias, and it was Demani. Those were the 3 that in today's day and age, you looked at and said, we can keep those guys. And it was really important to do it, because imagine this team if Richardson and Anias Smith had turned pro. I mean, it's to me, that is a big swing. Demani could be a second-round draft pick at safety. If his best year is this coming season, and if they can find a way to maybe utilize him a little differently than he's been utilized. You started to see Elko. He mentioned it in the interview with me. Blitz him more, let him make more TFLs and stuff. And he was wreaking havoc back there. Bama, you remember that Auburn game? He was pretty Ole Miss, I believe, even. So Demani has a chance to be, I think, like an all SEC performer at safety. No question.
It's time to bank on it. Presented by Vera Bank, authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more at verabank.com.
Well, we've already talked about it, but I'm going to go ahead and bank on it. The Aggies are going to win up in Columbia, Missouri, and they're going to win because they're going to outscore on the bench something like 40-20.
Okay.
And that depth is going to put them over the top. It's going to be a tougher game. They may only win by 10. And may never get the 17-point lead, but you bank on it. The Aggies are going to win up in Columbia and then set up that big game against Kentucky.
All right, I'm going to give you 2 because one, I just want to say it out loud, and the other is, I thought of it when Dalton came in the studio. I'm banking on Wade Taylor hitting one of those threes that you go, why are you taking that? Oh, that's why you took that shot. Because he seems to do that often.
One of those, don't take it. Oh, great shot.
Nice job, Wade. Like those kind of shots.
He's fun.
He is fun to watch. I expect him to do that. And the other one is, and this is not breaking news, I expect the Texans to botch their next hire. And let me give you a reason why. They're paying David Culley a Band-Aid. You know they fired him yesterday,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
They're paying a Band-Aid, who was known to be a Band-Aid before they hired him, $22 million to go away. Nick Caserio, who came from the Patriots, hired this guy as a Band-Aid and somehow guaranteed the entire contract. So David Culley, who to me reminds me of, what's the name of the coach of the Cowboys that one year? The offensive line coach,
Campo. No.
Yes, Dave Campo.
Oh,
He's their Dave Campo, right? With a lot less success. Nice guy, but was not ready to be a head coach or not a head coach. They are an incompetent organization, and just because Cal McNair is responsible for hiring Nick Caserio, I think they're going to botch that hire. So there you go. You got two bank on it. Wade Taylor, huge shot. Texans will continue to be a train wreck.
Did the Texans, as bad as they were, did they overachieve this year?
Maybe, yeah.
So maybe Culley wasn't as bad as they think.
I'm going to get your opinion on this. I asked Logan yesterday, but I'll ask you. So we got this tough stretch coming up. A Mizzou game, I'm giving them as a victory, but they still got to go prove it. A&M's not at that level. Look at what happened to Alabama. You got Mizzou, Kentucky, at Arkansas. You got LSU. You got South Carolina. 5 games. What is a realistic and a stretch that would? Yeah, what's realistic there?
I mean, my opinion is they're a better team than Missouri. They're a better team than South Carolina. I think you got to find a way to win one of those other 3 games. Obviously, Kentucky and LSU are going to be more difficult matchups for A&M. I actually think that A&M matches up fairly well defensively with what Kentucky does outside of the big fella down low and the transfer from West Virginia from Kentucky. I think they've got to find a way to split Kentucky or LSU. And, that Arkansas game is going to be a difficult game at Bud Walton Arena. I mean, that Arkansas team has not played well. Muss is going to get them fired up. But you got to win the Missouri and the South Carolina game. For A&M to have a shot to make the NCAA tournament, they need to beat all the teams that they should beat, right? They need to beat the Missouris and the South Carolinas. They can't lose those games because of the high level of play in the SEC right now at the top end. You need to finish in the top 6-ish to make the NCAA tournament. And so I think they've got to try and split. I actually think the Kentucky game is a better matchup than the LSU game for A&M. But they've got to try and find a way to go 3-2 in those 5. And that puts them in a really good spot. They go 2-3, the good part is, and we talked about this last week, David, is this schedule sets up pretty nicely for them, but it's actually after these next 8,
right?
Because once you have these 5, then you have Tennessee, then you have Missouri again, then you have LSU again. So you've got 4 games against top 25 teams out of the next 8. You got to try and go 4-4 really in these next 8. I would look beyond the next 5 and really talk about the next 8.
The answer feels obvious here, but who is the best team in the SEC and why is it Auburn?
I used to talk about this with Gabe all the time. The coaching in the SEC is really high level, but not it's not the X's and O's. It's the way that these guys pull the best out of their teams. John Calipari is famous for that. People don't think John Calipari is a great X and O's coach. That's just not true. But Bruce Pearl is really good with getting his guys to buy in and making sure that they really take advantage of every opportunity. And he's got one of the best players in the country. He's got a bunch of really high-level role players. They play at a pace that's very difficult to defend. This was not a team that you would have thought was going to be top-end SEC after last year. And they continue to turn it. And I think Bruce has done a great job. And his guys just buy into him. In the SEC, for the most part, you got a bunch of teams who have really good talent, right? But it's the teams who really buy into what their coach is selling that matters. It's different than football. We can't stop the game on every possession and give you a play. So you really have to buy in that your coaches believe in you and that they're putting you in the best position to be successful. And they've trained you to make the right plays. And that's, I think, what you're seeing from Auburn.
Hey, I'm optimistic, David. That's what I am.
Nuno going 2 for 3.
I'm saying if. I'm very optimistic. You called me out the other day.
I'm with you. This team, the way they're playing, they believe right now. Look, college basketball, I think as much as, well, I'd say college baseball is similar too. When you get to playing well, and especially in this league where everybody is so evenly matched. I mean, take Missouri, Arkansas, A&M, and Alabama in the last few weeks. Alabama is supposed to be the best of that bunch, right? They lose to Missouri. Then they take number one, or not number one. What did Auburn end up ranked this week? They take a top 5 Auburn team down to the final minute. Arkansas, last year, Elite 8 team. A lot of people maybe thought they were going to be the best out of those 4 this year. They start conference play 0-3. Missouri beats Alabama. A&M beats Arkansas. All of a sudden, you look up and Arkansas is beating Missouri by 50 or whatever it was. So when all these teams are so bunched up, and it happens in baseball, it happens in football, it happens in most sports in this conference because the teams are so good. When you're in these longer seasons other than football and you're riding these hot streaks, it's a lot of times it's playing the right team at the right time, and A&M caught Arkansas at the right time. Hopefully they catch them again in a week and a half or so, and they still haven't put it all together. I know it looked like they did last night. That's just one game, so let's see. But that's why I thought I was giving you guys a hard time about Ole Miss, but that's why I thought A&M was going to win. I'm going, Ole Miss had done nothing to impress other than that they slugged Mississippi State pretty good. And I watched that game, and I was like, okay, this is an impressive team. They did that playing at home against a rival. They were coming on the road the game after against A&M. They were already a 5-loss team. Do I think Ole Miss stinks? Not at all. I think that was a dangerous game. But I just felt like the Aggies, the way they are playing right now, playing at Reed Arena, I thought there would be more energy, the more these wins stack up. That was a tough ask for Ole Miss. I think it's a tough ask to go win at Georgia and go win at Mizzou in this league, even with Mizzou getting thumped. But the reality is, if you look at how A&M's playing versus what just happened to Missouri, it's as set up as you want it to be. It's kind of like when A&M went there to play Mizzou in football. We thought that was such a dangerous trap game. But then by the time the game rolled up, you're going, well, these Aggies just beat Bama, and it's still something to watch, an early morning kick. But that team was down. They were way down with Bazelak and those guys. They were done for. So much of it, David, to me in college basketball is about the timing, because A&M's they're not going to just do this all year across an 18-game schedule. So you stack up, man, as many as you can when it's up. And go back with what you said. In any form or fashion, obviously, if you beat Kentucky at home, that's a sitting at the top of your tournament resume for the rest of the year type of win. We'll talk about that when that game comes up. But if any combination of 2 of these next 3, gosh, I mean, if you're sitting at 5-1, 6 games into an 18-game conference schedule, I'll let you do the math on, what does it take to get to, 11-7 in this league? You're sitting at 5-1, go 7-6 the rest of the way. I mean, 6-6 the rest of the way. So, I mean, that to me is kind of a magic number for not for this team, but I think in this year's SEC, almost for any team. So, yeah, if you can race out of the gates 5-1, so this one Saturday is really big.
So you guys really heard the end of the last show, Boris Johnson. I heard that from people on TexAgs, on YouTube. Like, thank you for watching that. So I'm not going to give you another word. What should I say? Let's Dalton, chime in. What's a word we can give them to say?
Let's say Billy Liucci has an awesome haircut. Whoever says that gets a high five. You
get a high five from Dalton in person or on Zoom. Either way, whatever works for you.
Whichever one.
Yeah, whatever. If you want to like this, you can.
You can comment.
You can comment. What else can you do?
You can subscribe.
Yeah, and what? Any more?
Rate, review.
Share.
Tell your friends. Tell your mom. Tell your grandma.
If your grandma watches this and you can prove it,
I'll give you a TexAgs T-shirt.
yeah, one from 1986, one of the old school ones that it doesn't look good.
The
but you'll
two-color TexAgs logo?
Yeah.
We can do it.
Yeah, we'll do that for you. It's TexAgs Rewind.